All right, who remembers where we're at? Okay, not the answer I was looking for, but yes, Daniel chapter 10. I was going to say, yeah, you wasn't calling him the brown noser because he got the answer wrong. All right, so we went over Daniel 9. The 70 weeks was what we spent most of the time last week on. We can't cover everything or we'd never leave Daniel. So we're going to move on to Daniel chapter 10. Now there's 3 chapters left, 10, 11, and 12. They are all one vision. Why it's broken up into 3, don't ask me, because you'll get confused. It is all the same vision from here to the end of Daniel. So we'll deal today just with 10, which doesn't really deal a whole lot with the vision. But let's get started. In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a word was revealed to Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar. And the word was true, and it was a great conflict. And he understood the word and had understanding of the vision. In those days, I, Daniel, was mourning for 3 weeks. I ate no delicacies, no meat or wine entered my mouth, nor did I anoint myself at all for the full 3 weeks. On the 24th day of the 1st month, as I was standing on the bank of the great river, that is the Tigris, I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a man clothed in linen with a belt of fine gold from Uphaz around his waist. His body was like beryl, his face like the appearance of lightning, his eyes like flaming torches, his arms and his legs like the gleam of burnished bronze, and the sound of his words were like the sound of a multitude. And I, Daniel, alone saw the vision. For the men who were with me did not see the vision, but a great trembling fell upon them, and they fled to hide themselves. So I was left alone and saw this great vision, and no strength was left in me. My radiant appearance was fearfully changed, and I retained no strength. Then I heard the sound of his words, and as I heard the sound of his words, I fell on my face into a deep sleep, with my face on the ground. And behold, a hand touched me, and set me trembling on my hands and knees. And he said to me, O Daniel, man greatly loved, understand the words that I speak to you, and stand upright, for now I have been sent to you. And when he had spoken these words to me, I stood up trembling. Then he said to me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and humbled yourself before God, your words have been heard, and I have come because of your words. The prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. But Michael, one of the chief princes, came to my help, for I was left there with the kings of Persia, and came to make you understand what is to happen to your people in the latter days. For the vision is for the days yet to come. When he had spoken to me according to these words, I turned my face towards the ground and was mute. And behold, one in the likeness of the children of men touched my lips. Then I opened my mouth and spoke. I said to him who stood before me, O my Lord, by reason of this vision, pains have come upon me, and I retain no strength. How can my Lord's servant talk with my Lord? For now no strength remains in me, and no breath is left in me. Again, one having the appearance of a man touched me and strengthened me. And he said, O man greatly loved, fear not. Peace be with you. Be strong and courageous, and of good courage. And he spoke to me, and I was strengthened, and said, Let my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me. Then he said, Do you know why I have come to you? But now I return to fight against the prince of Persia. And when I go out, behold, the prince of Greece will come. But I will tell you what is inscribed in the book of truth. There is none who contends by my side against these except Michael, your prince. Everybody got it? Easy to understand, right? Yeah, right. Let's start here. So what's Daniel praying about? Why is he praying and fasting? He's in mourning. He's praying probably for Israel still. Probably for the rebuilding of the city and the walls and the temple and everything same as last time. Is there an echo in here? It's making my ears go. See if that gets rid of it. I think that mic up there is picking up the speaker. So what is Daniel? Yeah, I don't hear it no more. What's Daniel's method when he wants to hear from God? This is fasting and prayer.
But why did he do it for 3 weeks?
He hadn't got his answer yet. He had not got it. So he continued till he got his answer.
So how he figured it says he fasted, but he still ate. Because it says he ate food that didn't taste good.
I ate no delicacies, no meat or wine entered my mouth. So it could be a full fast and he's just telling you that he ate no good stuff, or it could be a partial fast where he took in chicken broth or bone broth, something to sustain him for 21 days, or vegetables only and none of the good, just enough to sustain himself. Yeah, liquid you have to drink. When you fast, you still drink water. I would recommend only water. Yeah. No. Even their water usually had wine in it because their water wasn't real clear and the alcohol would kill what was in it. There was probably a lot of winos back then. Winos. Yeah, they would have to add wine to the water to purify it because it would make you sick. Now they could have boiled the water and run it through charcoal and drank it, but putting wine in was easier. And it added a little flavor. Yeah, they might not have figured it. This does not. The vision does. This is just the intro to the vision. It's enough to deal with for one lesson. So on the 24th day, what happens? God answers. He gets a vision. He's on the great river Tigris. And he sees who? Who's the first person he sees? Flip to Revelation, I think. Let me find what chapter. It's a prince. Person with the appearance of a man, dressed in linen, gold belt, bronze appearance, face like lightning. Melchizedek. because Daniel was praying. So the answer to his prayer comes. Revelation chapter 1, starting in verse 12. We know who they're talking about here. In Revelation chapter 1, who's giving the vision to John? Jesus. He's going to go into the 7 churches. So, verse 12. Then I turned to see the voice that was speaking to me. And on turning, I saw 7 golden lampstands. And in the midst of the lampstands, one like the Son of Man. Sound familiar? Clothed in a long robe with a golden sash around his chest. Sound familiar? Hair of his head were white, like wool, like snow. His eyes were like the flame of fire, and his feet were like burnished brass refined in a furnace. And his voice was like the roar of many waters. Same person, right? So who's standing on the water in Daniel's vision? Jesus.
My study Bible says,
Gabriel?
well, it says he wasn't able to complete the task without the help of Michael, so it was unlikely it was Jesus.
Okay. We'll get to that. We're moving right into that. So, it's Jesus in the middle of the water, right?
We'll do that next week.
Jesus speaks to him and he falls on his face. But then you have to deal with the question, all principalities, all nations. So you have the prince of Persia, and even speak of the demon or whatever's in charge of the prince of Greece to come. So whoever touches Daniel and raises him up could not defeat that demon by himself. Michael had to come help him. So if it's Jesus, Jesus would not have had that problem. Flip with me to Daniel chapter 12, and I'll find the verse there. Like I said, this is all one vision. It's divided in your Bibles, but it is all one. All right, starting right at the beginning. At that time shall arise Michael, the great prince who is in charge of your people. So Michael is the archangel whose charge is over the nation of Israel. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never has been since a nation till that time. But at that time your people shall be delivered, everyone whose name shall be found written in the book. And many of those who are asleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to everlasting shame and contempt. Those who are wise shall shine, but you, Daniel, shut up the words to the end. Verse 5. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, 2 others stood on the bank of the stream, and one on that bank of the stream. And someone said to the man clothed in linen who was above the water. So this gives you a little more insight. How many people are at the river? How many beings? There's one over the water and one on each bank. So the one who touches Daniel and raises him up does not have to be Jesus. There's 2 angels there. There's probably Michael, Gabriel, and Jesus. Because Gabriel seems to be the messenger that brings everything to Daniel. And Michael is an archangel. And obviously when he showed up, that power that was over Persia couldn't withstand Michael because Gabriel was able to leave. So there's 3 people there. So when you read the account in 10, it gets a little confusing because it sounds like there's one person standing in the river that sure sounds like Jesus as described elsewhere in the Bible, but then is not powerful enough to get rid of the Prince of Persia. We're dealing with 2 people, well 3 because he brings in Michael, but in chapter 10. Because it bounces back and forth. The man standing in the water, definitely Jesus. The man who touches him and says he's delayed, definitely not Jesus. But then once he loses his strength and falls again, he starts calling that person Lord. And what does every angel do if you start calling them Lord? Or no, I'm just like you. You don't worship me. We worship him. In chapter 10, that person does not say that. He allows him to address him as Lord the whole way through chapter 10. So that's how I deal with that. Because 10 through 12 is one vision. So there's 3 people here. Questions, agreements, disagreements? So what does chapter 10 tell you about nations? That the New Testament reaffirms. We often think of we're at conflict with Iran, and we're at conflict in Venezuela, and we're in conflict with Russia. There's a whole other side to all of it. Huh? Yeah, still fighting with everybody. But there's a spiritual side to every fight that you see here on earth that we don't get to see. When Persia conquers, and when Greece conquers, and when Rome conquers, these are spiritual battles as well. It's not just earthly battles. Because we have the Prince of Persia, we have the Prince of Greece, we have the Prince of Israel, all here in chapter 10 alone. Now, when this vision happens, what happens to everybody that's with Daniel? They flee. They can't see the vision, but they can feel it, and they flee. What's that remind you of? At least what it reminded me of. Where else did that happen in the Bible? No, not what I'm thinking of anyhow. Who else had this vision actually blinded him, and nobody else around could? The Apostle Paul. Same thing happened with him. The whole group was there. None of them, they heard thunder. They saw light, but Paul's blinded. He can hear the voice. Nobody else could. So it's not uncommon. But I find it fascinating that even those people that are around that aren't saved or being talked to, they know something's going on. Something crazy, because, I mean, these guys flee. They go running, and they hide. And for all those people you hear that say, when I die, I will tell God what I think. What's Daniel do that's revered by God as soon as Jesus appears above the water? Straight down on his face. And doesn't even have the strength in his body to stand up. Yeah, couldn't even speak. Yeah, he's mute. Nobody's going to stand before God and tell them what they think. Nor should they if they could. Be like a toddler arguing with a professor. You're not going to win the battle. So it looks like, what is it? Verses 10 to 14 would be an angel. Because that's where he touched me, trembling hands, and he tells them the story about the prince of the kingdom of Persia, which was able to withstand him for 21 days. No demon, fallen angel, whatever you want to call him, is going to withstand Christ for 21 seconds, let alone 21 days. When he comes back, the sword out of his mouth, which is his word, levels the battle of Megiddo, or as most people know it, Armageddon. Nobody has to fight that day. Jesus just speaks it, and the whole army's gone. So that's how we know that whoever's in 10 through 14 is not Jesus. But then you move to 15. When he spoke those words, when he had spoken to me according to these words, I turned my face to the ground and was mute. And behold, And he goes back to one in the likeness of the children of man. Touched my lips, and I opened my mouth and spoke and stood. I said to him who stood before me, O my Lord. The angel would have stopped them. How can my Lord's servant, because we don't believe in serving angels, but the angel does not correct, or this person does not correct him, so it can't be an angel. How can my Lord's servant talk with my Lord? Again, one having the appearance of a man touched me and strengthened me and said to me, O man greatly loved, fear not. So what's that tell you? When you watch all these TV evangelists that gone to heaven or talked with angels and they golf with them and they do all this weird stuff in their little stories, not one of them say they fell on their face. But every time you see an angel in the Bible or Christophany, or every person's falling on their face. So how do I know all these quote-unquote evangelists are lying? They don't follow the biblical method at all. They didn't see no angel, and they didn't see no Jesus. They didn't golf with God. Because not a one of them say, I fell on my face and was mute. I couldn't speak, had no strength in me. Nope. They just talk like it's normal. It's not normal if you see the spiritual side. No, they want us to think that they have these visitations with angels and they get to go to heaven and yeah, but they don't. Not at all. But if you believe that, you'll give them money, so that's why they talk that way. I don't. I don't. No, they're going to hear like everybody else, depart from me, I never knew you. Yep. Verse 20, we switch back that an angel, then he said, do you know why I have come to you? But now I will return and fight against the prince of Persia. So like I said, 10 is very confusing if you don't read 10, 11, and 12 together. Because it all sounds like one person here. And it is definitely not one person. It's three. And that'll lead into the vision that we'll deal with for the next couple classes, probably 11 and 12. That we can't get into today because we ain't got that kind of time. But let me ask you a question. If Michael the archangel and they're coming and it's your people and your kingdom, what's 11 and 12 going to deal with? What nation? Israel. So when you hear people talking about 11 and 12 and talking about America and Great Britain and stuff, they're probably on the wrong path. End times revolves around the Middle East. Because even Greece here, I can't remember the word, but it's not Greece. Yevon. That word should be Yevon, not Greece. Good. Yeah, go ahead.
Is 10, 11, and 12, is that where the 3.5 years comes in?
Some. We dealt with it a little bit in 9. We dealt with it a little bit in 7. It'll come more in 11 and 12. Go ahead. You're the only one talking.
This is so confusing. You have to go back and back and back.
Yes. Yeah. And you can't read Revelation without Daniel. And you can't read Daniel without some, at least, good understanding of the Old Testament. Because you need Ezekiel and you need Isaiah and you need Micah, and you need a good bit if you're going to go down this road. It's not one you jump into like Matthew and, okay, I understand what Jesus said there. When Daniel says this and that, and what's 70 weeks, and you need some understanding. Or you get way off on your theology, or should I say eschatology, study of end times.
Do you think eventually you're going to take us into the book of Revelation to study it?
I'm not opposed to it. Most of you probably, we won't agree. People are very firm in their beliefs of end times. They're not really good at defending it, but they're firm in it. And you can't be firm with eschatology. And I tell myself that because I'm pretty firm in my eschatology. But I've been through most of the positions too. Yeah, I used to be a pre-trib. God would never let his bride suffer through the tribulation. And then I have a hard time dealing with that when Jesus says, I guarantee you, you're going to have tribulations in your life. Okay, well, if I'm guaranteed to have tribulation, what's the difference between tribulation and wrath? Because we're promised not to be under the wrath of God, which everybody uses that we can't be here in the latter half of the tribulation period. But when you read that verse, it's not talking about the tribulation period at all. It's talking about hell. We're saved by Jesus, so we're guaranteed not to be under God's wrath. It's talking about hell. It's not even talking about the tribulation period. But I don't think we'll fall under God's wrath, which is the latter half of the 7-year tribulation period. I think it's probably about a year and a month. A year and a month, where the actual wrath of God falls. Before that, it seems like tribulation, war, pestilence, all this stuff comes. Well, all that stuff's here right now, so can't be wrath. It's just people being people and sickness coming and death and disease. All normal stuff we deal with every day. It ramps up, but that's what Jesus meant by birth pains. Women know this way better than me, but they start off pretty small. And they grow, and they grow, and they grow, and they grow. Jesus said that's what it'll be like towards the end. It'll start off small, and it'll grow, and it'll grow, and it'll grow. But will we do Revelation? I don't know. I'm not opposed to it. It's kind of hard to preach it because everybody wants to ask questions. And sermons are monologues and not dialogues, so it's kind of hard to ask questions in the middle of a sermon. So it'd be better teaching it than preaching it.
Teach it, brother.
Yeah, you knew that was coming. Because if I preached it, you're going to get how I see it. And that's the only thing you're going to get. You're not going to get the debate. I know you say that, but all these end times ones, you're not asking questions. I know, but they don't get to hear that. And a lot of them have the same questions and are too shy to ask. You're not shy. Yes, he usually does. All right, questions on 10. So now we have the setting. They're at the Tigris River. Jesus is above the water, 2 angels on each side. And you go all the way back to the beginning of chapter 10, and it says, what? What was my point there? Go ahead. He doesn't need to. He always sends messengers.
But he was there at the same time,
Hmm.
so he didn't need the messenger.
He was there so Daniel could see him, yes. There's a few in the Old Testament that were blessed to see pre-incarnate Jesus. Not many. But the angels were there before. Yeah. There's an angel probably here in this room.
What you said was an angel there before, is that the angel there before couldn't do the job, so he had to rely on him.
Well, it seems like when you read Daniel that angels have certain jobs just as we have certain jobs. So just because there's an angel in this room doesn't mean it's a messenger angel that God's going to send to you to give you a lump. That seems like it's somebody else. Like Gabriel seems to be a messenger angel. You don't hear him fighting battles or doing all that. He's usually coming with a message. Like his job is to reveal what's going to happen in the future. Where Michael, his job is to defend the nation of Israel. And that's every time you read him, he's there as a warrior. So just like we all have different jobs, deacon, elder, Sunday school teacher, we have different jobs. So you don't take the building and maintenance position and expect it to preach the sermon on Sunday. You don't take the deacon position and expect to vacuum the floor. You don't. Everybody's got a job. Yeah, I think the angels are the same. God has order. He always has order. Everything he does has order. So, Lucifer had a job. And look where it got him for trying to get out of his lane. So. Why he gives him so much power? He has no power. Read the book of Job. Yeah. But he has no power. Everything he does, he's like a little tiny kid that has to ask daddy for permission. He just can't go run rapid. If God doesn't say, yes, you can, he can't do nothing. Yeah, he is running rampant right now. He is given some free rein to run rampant right now. But only by permission. From our side, it looks like he has full control and full power, but he's got none. Yeah, we give him way too much credit. The devil made me do it. No, the devil's busy with somebody way more powerful than you. The devil's not sitting here dealing with trying to make you swear. Yeah, the devil's dealing with some powerful preacher that he wants to try to make fall. He ain't dealing with you and your little stuff. He got plenty of demons for that. But then again, we give them all too much power because it says what? 1/3 of them fell. So what does that mean? They're outnumbered 2-1. 2/3 did not fall. And they're just as active in our everyday lives that we can't see. Any other questions? All right, we'll deal with 11 and 12 over the next couple weeks, and then we'll get back to our regular study. Mom, you want to close us in prayer?